explain quickly before we begin. At break time, when we get to break time, before you disappear off to the loo, or when you come back from the loo or whatever, see Rachel, she needs to take your name down on a piece of paper so we can sort out this here prize draw later on in the day to see which three of you in the room win £3 worth of DVDs with resale rights, plus giving you the legal right to also copy them and sell them on your website, make a profit out. So, yeah, make sure you get your name down, because you've got to be in it to win it. Right, good morning everybody.
Good morning.
Trevor, you sound more awake than me, but don't worry, I will wake up. We'll get there. Quick show of hands first, by the way. At the end of today, being Sunday I do believe, how many of us are sort of stopping here tonight? Well, I mean, only a few of us. Alright, well, how many of us that aren't stopping here are actually going to hang around for an hour or two in the bar? Good, a fair number, that's good. So there'll still be other opportunities to ask questions and stuff. Morning break, I've already spoken to somebody. See me at morning break. My other friend's not here, but sorting out at lunchtime. And yeah, just grab me at any breaks. Right, okay. Hopefully, overnight, you still sort of remember, somewhere in here, in your head, all the stuff we were talking about yesterday, which there was a hell of a lot of, but, down to basics, the key thing is that everything applies to everything. And yesterday I remembered, last night when I got in the bar, that I said to you, later on in the day, or perhaps in the morning, I may indeed tell you what this Pythagoras' theorem had the hell to do with what we've been going on about. And I did give you the clues. If someone's got a background in magic, M-A-G-I-C-K, then they would probably also relate to the fact that this is also what a guy called Aleister Crowley was on about in when you read between the lines of all his really weird mumbo-jumbo-ish black magic books where he's saying cut off a sheep's head and fill its left ear with earwigs and it's not the other as some spell for attracting people. And all the clues were there yesterday. The answer to this, you all know. I'm just wondering if you yet realise that you know what the answer is. So Pythagoras' theorem was something along the lines of the square of the summit was equal to the hippopotamus on the other two sides. When I give you the answer, or I'll probably get someone in the audience to give me the answer, because I know at least one or two of you know what it is, you're probably going to think, well still, that's just a play on words of Pythagoras' theorem. If you want to prove to yourself that this is actually, what I'm saying is, go on the internet and search for sacred geometry, S-A-C-R-E-D, and then geometry as in geometry, and it will become clear when you look at these websites that it's not just some strange metaphoric example I've come up with to relate to what we were talking about yesterday. It's actually something that in what some people would term as the dark arts, what some people would term as being different spiritualist views of nature, call it what you will, that they actually were teaching messages to help people in a roundabout way. So I'm going to throw it out before we begin and move forward and build upon what we did yesterday. And you can keep quiet just for a minute, because I know you know the answer. We'll see if anyone else has twigged it. So anyone got any ideas what the relation to everything we were going on about yesterday, the most important points, what relation that could have to Pythagoras' theorem? And then there was definitely silence. It doesn't matter if you don't get it entirely right. Somebody will have the overwhelming urge to hazard a guess at this.
Something to do with three.
Three? That's definitely an element of it, yes.
Angles, three sides, three angles.
Yeah, that is definitely part of it. Yeah, yeah. Power of three, which is something we talked about yesterday. Definitely part of it. There's a bit more to it as well. Anyone got any other thoughts?
Was magic symbol, something like a triangle with an eye in the middle?
There is actually, yeah.
Nothing to do with it.
Well, you know, very loosely, yes it is. Because, again, yesterday we covered, reminding you, which is probably where this is kicked off in your head, that's why I'm doing this, see what went in there, that weird abstract images are the best way of changing things in your unconscious mind. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you did something with the third eye in one of the demonstrations. That's what you did.
Yeah, the so-called third eye, I know that was the tapping thing. We will actually go back to the third eye later as well. Repetition.
When you ask, or
Yeah, which is the power of three.
repetitively talk whatever, so that it permanently ingrained into your brain.
Yeah, which is the power of three, which then goes three. Yeah, that's good. We did cover that, and that is sort of linked into this as well. Any more thoughts? Yes, sir?
Well, I don't know, it's a wild one, but it looks like the solution for everything lies within the Stranby.
Nice. That isn't actually where I was going with this, but yeah, nice. That,
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear
the
that.
solution to everything lies within the surrounding. So yeah, your environment, your social conditioning, people's human nature based on what they feel people expect of them, and manipulating that to help them. Yeah, indeed, that is a large amount of what we covered yesterday, and yeah, it actually does fit in with the image. Wasn't what we're thinking, but that's a good one, Matt. I remember that one. Any more thoughts? Shall we put you out your misery? You're going to go, bloody hell, is that it? I was thinking that. I was just, because you all do know, definitely. Can I pick on you then, please, sir?
Yeah, go
I
on.
know that you know the answer, so
Yeah.
loud and clear
Make
for
him stand
everyone.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
God, it doesn't take that long, trust me. All right, the result is the sum of the intent and the belief. It's as simple as that. See, it wasn't even worth standing up for.
So the end result of yourself or your client is the sum of the intent and the belief. That is the key to therapy. That is the key to success in anything really, including with goal setting in any area of life. The end result is the sum of the intent and belief. And that's on both sides. The intent that you transmit to the client, that it's going to work, so that they pick up on this idea and believe and expect what you're doing to actually have some sort of positive meaning. And then if you get on to even deeper levels, if anyone does bother to go looking around on the internet, then we start getting into the areas of, you know, all this sacred geometry is all about ritualistic things, and so are the processes really, because in truth, that just adds a layer. These processes that, what did we do? In one example, we just asked someone to give us the shape, the colour, the texture, and then we changed it. Not rocket science. In another, it was a case of tapping. It's a distraction for the mind. So it seems as though we're doing it for some sort of reason, so that people can attach their mind around that idea. Thus, it becomes their reality. In truth, with hypnosis, and today we'll be covering inductions, years and years ago, but probably even before, I mean, you know, in Egypt they had Egyptian sleep temples where they used to do healing. But more commonly we hear about a guy called Mesmer, with his electric rods healing people, and then it became so-called hypnosis. And with hypnosis, when you go back in the history book, rather than all the crap they teach you these days, all long-winded stuff, it used to be a case of hypnotise somebody, once they're under, make sure the trance is nice and deep, test it out to make sure they're hypnotised, i.e. give them a simple instruction that their arm's going to be, oh, yeah, we did that yesterday, didn't we? Like, give them a simple instruction that their arm, sorry, that side, is, you know, like hot glued, welded, cemented, and leave it there for a bit. So it gets knackered and their eyes are closed, they've got no awareness of it, so if it stays there, we are told that this means they are being compliant, suggestible, and therefore arguably hypnotised. So you're testing it. Once you know that they are hypnotised, or at least don't get caught up in what hypnosis is and isn't. Don't get caught up in how deep are they or are they not. They don't look like they're zombified, so they're not deep enough for it to work. Bollocks. As long as they end up with their eyes closed, and they keep their eyes closed, which is what you'll have heard me say a lot, just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed at all times, you find that this is successful for you, which is sort of, in a roundabout way, deciphered, saying, well, if you open your eyes, it's your fucking fault when it doesn't work, because the onus on them, just to put it in a nice, sweet, gets past the bouncer on the nightclub door kind of way. So just so long as you keep your eyes tightly closed at all times, you'll find that X, Y, Z, and then you just link into whatever it is you're going to do. So as long as their eyes are closed when you tell them to keep them closed, as long as they lift their arm up when you tell them to, as long as when you wiggle their arm around and let go of it, it drops into their lap like a loose limp rag doll, which is going to be a sign and a signal to help them relax more completely, then you know they're being compliant. So that is the testing element. So it's induce them into hypnosis, deepen the trance, test it. Next step, instruct. You see how simple it was years ago. Instruct would be quite as simple as, for example, if it was someone these days for smoking, at that point instruct it would be literally a case of telling them they're not a smoker anymore. Direct, to the point, as simple as something like, in a few moments' time when I awaken you, you're going to realise that you no longer need, want, crave or desire for cigarettes or tobacco in any way, shape or form. You'll find that should you ever in the future attempt or try, law of reversed effort, to inhale on a cigarette, that the very taste of it will seem to you almost as if it's like donkey shit running down your throat. It'll be absolutely terrible. And each and every time you see a cigarette on its tip, on the tip of that cigarette in your mind's eye, you'll see the number 19, reminding you of the 19 deadly poisons in cigarettes, the 19 good reasons to give up smoking, the 19 good reasons to stop killing yourself, your family, and your loved ones in this slow, painful way. Because you no longer need, want, crave, or desire for cigarettes in any way, shape, or form, and from this moment forward, you have become, future pacing, you have become and continue to be a confident, happy, healthy, relaxed, non-smoker. Nod your head if you understand. Now, allegedly, you're talking to their unconscious mind now, so if they nod their head, it's been accepted. At which point you wake them up. Waking up, numbers go upwards. I'll come to that a bit more in a minute, key bullet points, because when you put it all together by lunchtime, you'll realise, fuck me, I know how to hypnotise somebody. Or I know how to do it quicker than I did before. So, to wake them up, it can be, it's up to you. I think I varied it yesterday from, I'll count from 1 to 5, and then next time I'll count from 1 to 10. It doesn't really matter, the numbers go upwards. It's a suggestion of coming up out of the trance-like state. As you may have noticed, my voice tone for waking people up started to move upwards, so it's more sort of lively, whereas when we're getting them under, it sort of moves downwards, and the numbers go backwards to suggest going down, so it's an inbuilt suggestion as well. And you awaken them, and in there you implant the major, what they call the major post-hypnotic suggestion. What the fuck do they need to call it? Shit like this. Well, post-hypnotic meaning that will take place after they come out of trance. And in this example, smoking could be something as simple as, you know, well, in pretty much any example, I always say something along the lines of, when I awaken you in a few moments' time, I'm going to count from 1 to 5, and you'll find on the count of 5, and only on the count of 5, you'll instantly open your eyes. You'll feel wide awake and refreshed. Everything that I've suggested to you will remain with you and grow stronger each second of each minute, of each hour, of each day, week, month and year from this moment forward. Which, if you believe all the technical bullshit in all these textbooks, means that you now set up a psychological loop that whatever they do in their life, this suggestion is constantly getting repeated to them in the unconscious mind, thus outruling, blocking out the shit that was there before. That was in their own head, because they basically didn't want to give themselves permission to change. Is what was stopping them. Now these days you get long-winded scripts that say sessions have to be long and courses say, oh, it's going to last this long. And in fairness, when we get to complete mind therapy, the structure I just generally use for clients that are paying a sizable amount of money to come and see me, yes, it will last anywhere from 3/4 of an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how much money they're prepared to pay. And it does frankly come down to that. When in truth, the work can all be done in less than 15 minutes. And that includes getting rapport at the beginning of the session, which is so important with housing therapy. Getting rapport. Yeah, making them a brew, pretending to like them. You never met them. Foot rapport. You know, the funny thing is with hypnosis, they say rapport is necessary. Well, there's an aura about the idea of being a hypnotist. People are either fascinated by it, scared shitless of it, or just total non-believers, and they'll be the wankers who come up to you and go, look into my eyes, not around the eyes, into the eyes. Very little Britain fight. Then just smack them once in the face. Entirely at your own risk. I'm not encouraging violence, you understand, because that's wrong. They sort of fall into one of these three categories. The wankers, well, fuck them. The believer, the other two, like it lumpy, oh yeah, you're the people who are staunch, I don't believe in this, you couldn't hypnotise me. Right. The people who are scared, generally speaking, as long as you keep this in mind, it's all about your intent and belief you put across, people who are scared will generally go under like a sack of shit. Because to be scared of it in the first place, they've got to believe there's something in it. Makes sense, yeah? The people who are fascinated by it, asking the key question, can you help me do that? Could you do that? Will generally go under like a sack of shit, because to be asking the questions, they've already convinced themselves there's some sort of element of benefit and gain, which is human nature. People want to benefit from something, then they put something in. The Little Britain ones, bollocks. And the total, where we were there, fascinated, scared, and the total non-believers, the ones who say, oh, you'll never get me under. Out there, it's a bit of a generalisation, but I say a good 8 out of 10 of them will go like a sack of shit, because they're attention-seeking fuckwits is the technical term I give it. The other two will just be complete and utter stubborn sods who just want to prove you wrong, which again means they're attention-seeking fuckwits, but just on a level where it's going to be more difficult to work with them. But there is a way around that, whereby through using mind tricks, suggestibility tests, call them what you will, some of which I've listened to before morning break, you can trick them into believing that you can hypnotise them. Which, yeah, that's actually a very truthful statement. You trick them into believing you can hypnotise them, because at the end of the day, you can only hypnotise them if on some level, consciously or unconsciously, they believe that you can. Make sense? Cool. So all this script shite, all these techniques, the ones we did yesterday, more that we're going to do, are all well and good, because the beautiful thing about most of them is you don't even need to hypnotise them. So if you get someone who is so shit scared that, they want help, well, you say, all right then, we'll help you relax. Because you've thought, they're scared of hypnosis, so I won't mention hypnosis. The moment you say, like, close your eyes, it's sort of like, boo, you're not going to hypnotise me, then you can make it clear that you're not going to do. Because these things, as long as, most of them, even like the tapping, frankly, if need be, better if their eyes are closed, but it will still work with the eyes open. Because the key of it is to occupy their conscious mind doing something that is unusual, not normal, which I think it's safe to say that's not very normal for most people. Or in the case of what colour, what shape is it, what texture, change it. Imagine spinning those. It's not sort of normal everyday pursuit. If it is, then I suggest you don't treat the person, you send them to a psychiatrist. But, you know, it's so that it's something weird. It captures their imagination, their attention. Because one of the definitions of hypnosis is that fixation of attention on one thing to the exclusion of everything else, focus, we talked about it yesterday, sports, people arguably when they are in the zone are hypnotised because they're focused on one thing to the exclusion of everything else. It's technically hypnosis. So do not get caught up in what that word hypnosis really means, because the dictionary, the way they describe it, the way different bloody courses have different definitions. I like to keep it simple and say if the person closes their eyes when you tell them to close their eyes, they keep their eyes closed while you've told them to keep them closed, then arguably they are hypnotised. And even if they're not by someone else's dictionary definition of it, as long as you transmit that belief and intent to the client and carry on, you don't suddenly go and verbalise out loud, bugger me, they don't look deep enough. So clearly you're not going to do that because they're going to hear it. You might be thinking it in your head, but as long as you act as if, what we were saying yesterday, fake it to make it, act as if this is completely normal, they won't know otherwise. And they will assume, because you're in a position of authority, and because of your advertising, and the credibility and perception that this will have created, that you know what you're doing. So even if it doesn't go to what you thought was going to be the planned course, you just ad-lib, as we had to do yesterday, because it went from a 10 to a 2, and then, alright, we need to get to the last bit, so went on to the next step of actually doing introduction. You just ad-lib, you take it the next step further. They will assume, unless you tell them otherwise, that that is what you always do, because that is what always works. Only if you tell them will they know that you haven't fucked up, because you've only fucked up if you tell them. That's the key, so don't, really do not. Everyone, that's the biggest problem some people encounter, is the idea of, what do I do if this happens? And the answer is you do whatever the bloody hell you want that you suddenly think of at the time, however bizarre it may seem, you have fun with it. Alright? We used the example yesterday of taking, where is it, take the feeling out, change the colour, change the shape, change the texture, whatever. That on its own as one technique can often be enough. But if alone it isn't, then we went on to hypnotising, which you'll learn later. Picking up what's the right arm. Always warning them in advance when you're going to touch them and where you're going to touch them, so it doesn't come as a shock. And adding on that element of it won't bother you, worry or concern you. It will just serve as a sign and a signal to help you relax more completely. Lift the arm up and onto the shoulder to sort of push as much to say at the same time as you go, locked, glued, welded, cemented in place. Put all that energy into your arm, and we said, look, all that negativity, all that shite is moving up your body, down through your shoulder, down to your elbow, from your elbow to your wrist, into your fist. Clench your fist really tight. It's a simple enough thing for someone to do, clench your fist. You're not asking them to do anything particularly difficult, but it's a metaphor they can get their head around. And then you tell them clearly what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, what they're going to do, so they know exactly what to do. That in a few moments' time, when I count to 3, on the count of 3, and only on the count of 3, when I tap you on the back of your right hand, that very moment, that very instant, you will instantly allow your fist to open. You'll instantly allow all that negativity and crap from the past to just flood out onto the floor and disappear, so it's gone and no longer bothers you, worries you or concerns you. And your arm and your hand will just fall into your lap like a loose limp rag doll. You saw that happen. 1, 2, 3, ba-doom. And when they feel their arm drop into their lap, it is a physical piece of evidence, if you like, to them that something has occurred. And the moment they believe that, then it has, because all it takes is that thought, that belief in their own head, to make that change. Being aware and mindful that when you lift up somebody's arm, you can tell by the feel. Obviously, they make it stiff, fine, you know it's there, but how responsive is this person? You tap them on the hand, and for whatever reason, whether it's because they're so deeply in trance that it takes them a while to compute what you're saying, or whether it's because they're just being resistant, sometimes their hand isn't instantly going to go. So what do? Well, the first thing you do is you don't panic. You just act as though that's completely normal. You say a phrase like, "That's fantastic. That's wonderful." They'll just think, "All right, that's what's supposed to happen. We've got the right, they don't know any fucking better." And then I would do it again, only this time, rather than just tapping their hand, I would make sure that when I went in, I almost karate chopped the wrist. I kid thee not. Because they won't be expecting that. They're expecting to touch the back of their hands. The second time I go in and almost karate chop the wrist. They're not expecting it because they're expecting their hand touch. And believe me, their hand will drop on that occasion. When I came around you all in the room yesterday and lifted up people's arms, which sometimes you do as a so-called trance deeper, I'm going to lift up your left arm in a moment. When I do, it won't bother you, worry you, or concern you. I'll just let it drop into your lap, and you'll just let it drop down like a loose, limp rag doll, allowing every nerve, fibre, tissue, and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, to become so heavy, so tired, and all this stereotypical, hypnotic sounding bullshit, which is totally unnecessary to do in that sort of voice, but it is. But I like to, because I just find it amusing, and also because when you watch all your crappy films on TV, the hypnotist or the therapist always talks in a very long, drawn out, relaxing, drifting down. So, you know, the mass populace at large have a sort of perception of that's what's going to occur. So rather than explaining to them that isn't what's going to occur, go with it. Fit in with their incorrect thoughts that that's necessary. But it isn't necessary. Do it all. Everything, stack everything in your favour, like we talked about with so-called representational systems, VACOM, visual auditory, fuck that. Just go for taste, smell, see, feel, hear everything. Almost as if. So, this was like a psychological metaphor for getting all the shit out, and the beautiful thing about this one was, which you may or may not have instantly noticed, is by getting them to really clench their face, if you do that as hard as you can, after a while, your fingers start to get sore. You can feel the tension in your hand.
You could see it in his arm yesterday, because his arm was quivering
starts
under
to
the
go.
tricep,
Yeah.
With the tension.
And it's genuine physical tension, because it's what naturally happens when you make as much of a fist as you can, as hard as you can, and you're concentrating on it. Of course it's bloody going to start to shake a bit, or start to feel tired or whatever. So when you actually tap them and sort of effectively give them permission to let the hand open, oh, that's a sense of relief. And lower their arm, so that the muscles at the top of the arm can now relax, so that tension suddenly released, oh, that's good. And then that's released. They're feeling a genuine, tangible piece of physical evidence, so to speak, that when you told them they would relax, they have, because they feel a genuine physical relaxation. Of course they bloody do. It's got feck all to do with what you've suggested. It's because after doing that for a while and having that there, that is a relief suddenly, and so's that on the muscles here. But you link and attach this to the idea that that's a sign and a signal to relax more completely, and that you've let go of the past. And there's that metaphor as well, physical metaphor of let go. It's all embedded in there. So that's why that can be so effective, you know. And earlier, well, I'll wait till we get to CMT actually to mention the television set and mirror thing that we did. Tapping, self-explanatory. All it is nothing more than a mind distraction. Also, generally speaking, people feel a little bit daft about it, especially when you do it the wrong way. It doesn't work that way. You've got to do it the right way. No, it really doesn't fucking matter. It's a mind distraction, plus it feels a bit daft. So people would generally feel a bit self-conscious-ish. So that's why you do it along with them. When you get to the happy birthday bit, if they haven't already done it, they'll tend to giggle a bit. That's good, because we said yesterday, laughter releases the serotonin, the feel-good chemical, and that becomes almost automatically anchored, which we're going to be talking about very shortly, becomes automatically anchored to this thing that was a problem in the past, used to be an issue, phrases like that, which is verbal disassociation in past events. So it's overriding that program, if you think of it that way, moving them forward towards the bright, confident, happy, future pace, and it's already happening. Always is it. The moment they walk through your consulting room door or sit down in the chair, you act as if the problem's gone. So what was it that was bothering you? And they'll probably turn around and go, well, it's like this. This is what happens to me. However they phrase it, you always respond back as well, oh, so you used to find this. So even before you get to doing the technique, you're still repeating back to them, but you're repeating it back in a manner where you're phrasing it as though it's stopped. A minimum of 3 times, so you've got the power of 3. So hopefully, the nightclub bouncer guy, the analytical critical area, he's going to fuck off. He's got fed up hearing it 3 times, and then anything else you say can go in. That's pretty much what we are looking to do. All right, other key points. Whether it was just a reminder, after we've done a technique, we would get them to break state, as they call it, by opening their eyes, before we got them to test it. The calibration trick, hopefully you remember that. Yeah? Nodding head, good, I don't need to go over that. That's just, that alone, use that and stick anything, however bizarre you want in the middle, what your wildest imagination can create for yourself, and using that and acting as though you expect it to work, and intent and the phraseology that we've taught you, and it will work.
Can you redo the calibration trick?
Okay. Well, I'll give you an example, right? I know we did it yesterday, before and after the changing shape thing, and we did it before and after tapping. Right, let's throw this one out to the arm. I'm gonna point randomly at. In fact, no. I'm going to throw this pen over my shoulder. Whoever it lands closest to, please stand up where you are. You're not going to have to come out the front yet. I'm just going to ask you to. Has that dropped anywhere near anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll try to get that. Name any fruit or vegetable.
Strawberry.
Strawberry. Fantastic. I'll just take that pen back. Can I take the marker pen back off you? Cheers. You can take a seat. So a strawberry. So I can sit down there. A strawberry. Okay. That'll do. Here we go. Calibration technique. Strawberry therapy coming up. No, seriously, fuck it. I'm telling you, it worked. It would. Unfortunately, we don't have any strawberries, otherwise I would prove for definite that it would work. But it will work. So we imagine in fact, if we got somebody who's got something without having to share it with the people here, that if they thought about it somewhere in the past that was a bit that they'd be able to notice a difference that was measurable once we'd done the strawberry therapy. I know that sounds really ridiculous. They're going to be invisible strawberries, you understand, but it doesn't matter. I am deadly serious about this. Yeah? Something you could think about that you'd notice a difference.
Yeah.
Cool. Give this lady a round of applause then. Now, I would suggest that there's no reason why you couldn't do it with invisible strawberries for clients. You just give the impression that that's what happens and why you're doing it. I would suggest it'd be more tangible if you use real strawberries. Unless, of course, they're allergic. Check that first, on the text, but we'll go with invisible ones. Tremendous. Okay. Oh, and this is, by the way, is going to use the calibration technique. So just watch, observe, remember what I do. Job done. Brilliant. Okay, what I would like you to do, if you'd be so kind, is just to close your eyes a moment, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. That's absolutely fantastic. And just keep your eyes closed at all times for the next few moments. And in your mind's eye, I'd like you to imagine this issue, concern, problem, or whatever it may be from the past that used to bother you, and just take a few moments to visualise it, almost in a detached manner, so it's not really going to set you off upset, angry, or whatever emotion it would have elicited, but just so you get a sense of that feeling of it when it was sort of at its worst in the past. And when you've taken a few moments to do that, and you feel that you've got a kind of sense of that, just nod your head. Brilliant, just open your eyes. Now, on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no problem, 10 being like the worst it's ever been, ripping your eye out, it's like, this is really, really bad right now. How high up that scale would you say if you had to give it a number? How high up would it be? And that, oh, right, that's higher than that. Okay. Cool. Would you like to bring that down to there?
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. In that case, what I'd like you to do, take a nice deep breath in. Out. Close your eyes, that's fantastic. Now you may have noticed in front of you, when you sat down at the table in front of you, the invisible table that is, that there is an invisible bowl of strawberries. And these are actually genetically modified strawberries, but in a good way, a magical way, that can help you right here, right now. And you're not going to know exactly how you know, but in a few moments on the count of 3, you're going to reach forward in your mind's eye, and you can physically do this. Reach forward in your mind's eye with your eyes closed, and you're going to take a number of strawberries from the bowl in front of you. It might be 1, it might be 2, it might be 3, I don't know. And you won't know how you know the correct number to take, but you'll just have an instinct and a feeling to take a certain number of strawberries from that bowl on the count of 3. So 1, 2, and on 3, just reach forward. Take however many strawberries and then put them carefully onto your lap for a moment. Is that enough? That's enough. Fantastic. Okay, what I'd like you to do in the time that feels right for you, and I'll warn you in advance that sometimes some people have said to me that when they eat the magic strawberries, occasionally they might feel a little bit lightheaded for a few moments, or a strange sensation in some way, in some area of the body. It's different for everyone, so you know, just letting you know, you may or may not feel something like that straight away. So I'd just like you to take the strawberries that you've chosen, that's right for you, and eat those strawberries, one by one, till you've eaten the number that is correct for you. And as you do, it just starts to be a sign and a signal to your mind and to your body to eliminate, to remove, to erase those things that once bothered you in the past. Take a nice deep breath in, and then just sigh outwards and go, that's good. That's fantastic. Just take a few moments to take up on all those new changes up on board. And then open your eyes. That's fantastic. Now, I suppose I should change today. I don't know if you want to wiggle your hands a bit. I know it seems daft, it just helps get things back to normal. So what I'd like to do now is close your eyes and try and get a sense of a feeling. Try and get it like you did before. Take notice of the differences. See how much more calm and relaxed that is. Notice that in your mind's eye. And just open your eyes. On a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the worst it ever was in the past, 0 being no problem whatsoever, gone completely, how much lower down? Might be a heck of a lot, could just be a bit at first aid, but how much lower down would you say it is? A 2. As quickly as that. Fantastic, you've got great powers of intelligence, imagination and concentration. Shit up, nice one. I don't normally say shit on nice ones to the clients, because I'm not normally informed then that I've just made up this strawberry therapy. You understand that? You sort of, the key is to let them think that you do this all the time. That's obviously quite, I just thought I'd point that out, that is quite important. A 2. So, I mean, is that, would you feel within yourself that that's now at a level that's okay for you? So it's okay to leave it at 2. So in that case, thank you very much. Give this lady a round of applause. Now, I've never fucking done that before in my life. I've done the calibration technique, don't get me wrong. And yesterday you... Right, okay, let's put it this way. I've never done invisible strawberry eating before. However, every element of what we just did there, which clearly you saw works, you learned yesterday. Every element of it, if you think about it. Just about making things up. The calibration trick, you learned yesterday. Starts off, scale of 0 to 10, 0 being nothing, 10 being the worst it ever was, almost ripping your hair out. It's really bad up here. And then at the end, you know, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst it ever was in the past, and 0 being no problem whatsoever, gone completely. How much lower down is it? It is even. I forget to say that sometimes, but how much lower down it is right now. We did that yesterday. Phrasing things in a manner where it used to. Disassociation from the past. We did that yesterday. Future pacing. The second time, the second time is try to get a sense of a feeling, implying that they won't be able to the same level. Law of reversed effort. What resists persists. Future pacing. Notice how much better that is. It's a presupposition that it is better. All these arty-farty, winky-wanky NLP terms. You actually know how to use them in the real world. Getting them to close their eyes. Just because it's easier to visualise, just because it has some sense of internalising things for a minute, and then when you open their eyes there's a sense of externalisation. It's a contrast, it's a balance, it's a change. What's that word change again? Creating strange mental images to use in the change, whether it be a consciously daft image of, oh God, what must I look like? Or a closed eyes image of changing the colour and the texture. Or in this case, of the invisible table and the invisible bowl, and eating the magical strawberries. But always, and we learned that yesterday about, imagery. Leaving it to the client to make the correct decision for themselves. Even Milton Erickson said that the client soul, unconscious mind, has all the answers they need within it. So leave them to provide themselves with the answers, hence the phrase, in a few moments' time, reach for, take a number of strawberries. Could be 1, could be 2, could be 50. A number of strawberries. And that's why I use the phrase, you won't know how you know, but you'll just have an instinct that tells you how many is the right number of strawberries for you. I mean, it just happened to be strawberries. You could have turned around and said, I don't know, potatoes. It could have been anything. It really doesn't matter. The bit you do in the middle, to an extent, as long as you use these building blocks that you learned yesterday, by realising what I'm telling you, the fact that you can lump it together and come up with your own stuff, you will arguably be far more flexible and far more, I'd say, skilled, frankly, in any and all situations than pretty much the majority of anyone who's done these long-winded 2, 3, 4 week-long bloody NLP courses. Because you don't need the fancy words. You don't have to use one technique for one problem and a different one for that problem. Use whatever you want, whenever you want, just so long as you transmit that intent, create the belief, and make it ritualistic. The fact is we're doing something. And actors law, don't obviously start creasing up with laughter. So, away from this sort of scenario, it becomes even easier. Because it's harder to get a result for real here, although we have done consistently, because there's one key thing here, everyone knows now what's going on. Your client hasn't got a bloody clue, which immediately puts you way ahead of the game. So yeah, we learned all that yesterday. So all of those, actually, they're pretty much, would it be fair to say, do you remember we covered all that yesterday? What we've just done, made up there on the spot, you all already knew how to do. And you could literally make up your own thing, and you'll spot similarities in all the other techniques that we're going to cover. Now, I'll come back to all that later, because I want to jump on slightly. Where are we? Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Cool. There is only really, techniques-wise, 2 or 3 more things that I need to teach you, to be honest. Now that is my matter of opinion, I will be honest with you. The things I am teaching you and sharing with you is everything that I use in the real world. There isn't anything missing, this is what I do. I think that's become clearly evident by all of yesterday's demos, that you see the same things cropping up, whatever context, whatever so-called technique we're using, it's the same things that are happening. There are just 1 or 2 more things that I do use, so let's run these past you and then we can later on link it all together after the break into what I call complete mind therapy. Then by break time you'll actually have all the separate elements and we'll just bung it together. So, it's not really ideal just taking this on its own. This is a demo, so let me think of the best way of explaining or doing this. Oh, great. A volunteer. Doesn't matter, I'm not going to tell you what it's for. I'm not going to throw you on the floor either, but alright, let's have you both. Let's try, Leslie and this gentleman here, we'll try both of you. Give them a round of applause. Becomes like a competition now, you see. See whether the female or the male does better.
The female
You see, the thing is, Leslie, now that I've said that, this is human nature, will want to take this so seriously to make it work better than the man so that she wins. But he knows this, so he'll want to make it better than her better, but the thing is, Leslie already knows that, so she'll want to make it better than his better idea. And so it sets off a loop, which is actually human nature, and there's a lesson in that. That's why actually it's sometimes easier with a group thing to have more than one person. That's why stage hypnosis becomes so ridiculously easy, because the sheep effect comes into play. And if one person's responsive, the person sat next to them on stage becomes responsive, and that's group psychology. Prime example of that being football matches. People get on their own, for a quiet businessman at work, they won't say boo to a goose. You go to the football match, the other team, say their team scores a goal, and suddenly they jump up because everyone else does, they don't want to be the odd one out, suddenly they jump up and go, yes! Yeah? And they wouldn't, this is totally out of character for them, but when they get into the crowd, mob mentality, it becomes totally acceptable, it becomes expected to fit in. People want to feel as though they fit in. And in that sort of mob mentality, by joining in, you're right, Bill Mucker and all this crap, they suddenly feel loved, wanted, needed, appreciated, cared for, cherished, strong, valued. It's all back to the basic human nature we covered yesterday. I'm seeing light bulbs going on. Fuck me, actually, we learned more than we realised yesterday. Yeah, you did. You actually know how the fucking stage hypnosis works. You also know how politics works and religion works. It's the same thing. You got, you know, especially with the happy clappy Christians. Sorry, no offence if there's anyone here that is, but hey, if there is, wake up, smell the coffee. It's hypnosis under a different name. Especially when they start reaching for God. Oh, football match. Way! Church, reaching for God. Take another step further. Politics, let's go way beyond. Hitler, Heil Hitler. Everyone, arm out. That's strange. You know why? When the arm goes out like that, which is when you do suggestibility tests, which we'll see later, you get people with their arms out. Or in the case of the things like the seesaw induction that we taught you yesterday, get them to work out, it's because arguably it actually starts to release happy chemicals to the brain. Physically, it releases happy chemicals to the brain. And when this serotonin is released to the brain, as an automatic response to that, people automatically, physiologically become more suggestible because they're in the happy zone. Hence, people do this at football matches. They've just sort of done it instinctively. But they encourage people at religious means to reach for the Lord. Of course, while the happy chemicals are there, plus the group mentality and hysteria, they're more likely to visualise and feel things or whatever. Hitler, the moment they do that, everyone felt happy. Whatever crap he said at the time, straight in like a diamond-encrusted bullet into their head. They believed it because they're suggestible. There's something else to think about. That's why, you know, all these things, all these elements that go together. Anyway, I digress, as I so often do. That's not why I got you up. Okay. What I'd like you to do, we're just going to do a little bit of a demo. Hopefully it'll be enjoyable for you. I hope. No, it will. Oh, it will. Okay, we'll just do it. What I'd like you to do, okay, I'm just going to do a bit of a process. Are you right or left-handed?
Right.
Are you both right-handed? In that case, we will use your right hand, both of you. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. It's brilliant. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And I'd like you to think of a time in your life. It doesn't matter what it was. It could have been on holiday. It could have been an achievement. Whatever feels right for you. Think of a time in your life when you felt fantastic, on top of the world. You felt proud, calm, relaxed, confident. It could have been the birth of a child in the family that made you feel really proud and happy. It could have been winning an award. It could have been escaping for reality on a lovely holiday lying on the beach. If you can't think of one immediately right now, this second, then just conjure up what would create that feeling within you right now. And see it clear in your mind. Big and bright. Make the picture brighter. If it's got a sound to it, turn the volume up. And if it's a little bit away, bring it closer to you. And as you do, notice how much better that makes you feel. And just allow those feelings to flood. Every nerve, fibre, tissue and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers. And as it does, notice how good it feels as it's flooding your body from tip to toe. In a few moments' time, I am going to tap you on the back of your right hand. Okay? And at that very moment, I just want you to really turn that volume up, really make it nice and bright, and really enjoy those positive feelings. Right now, notice how good that feels, that's fantastic. Notice how good that feels, fantastic. That's brilliant. And then just open your eyes. That's good. I'm not even going to ask you what you were thinking of, because I did that once, and I wish I hadn't. Yeah. It was interesting to say the least. Okay, feeling good, yeah? Fantastic. Take a nice deep breath in. And out. Close your eyes. I want you just one more time, right now, to create that image in your mind's eye that you created before, but this time see it bigger, see it brighter, see it more colourful, see it, if it's got a noise, see it louder. And not only just see it this time, I want you to imagine that you're climbing into that pitch. You're actually there, you feel those things, as if it was happening right now, as if it was 100% total reality. You can taste, smell, see, feel, and hear everything as 100% total reality. The moment I touch you on the back of the right hand, I just want you to make it loud, bright, fantastic, and feeling good. right now. That's brilliant. Fantastic. And just nice deep breath in and open your eyes. Cool. Yeah, we okay? We'll start there. The interesting thing is, I'll actually tell you what we're doing now. Try to anchor your good feeling to the back of your right hand. And you should find, could you explain roughly, I know it's hard to put into words this, nigh on impossible actually, but when you were visualising, it was clear that you sort of started to smile and your face clearly moved. You were obviously thinking, experiencing something, and without having to tell us what you were thinking about. How could you describe the sensation? You were obviously feeling something that was good because you were smiling.
Well, it was complete aesthetic lens.
Right. So it felt pretty good. Yeah.
Very good, yeah.
You know what's interesting? Okay. All we need to do is it's like you've got a magic book.
Yeah.
You can just.
So I can touch that now.
Yeah. You feel that right now? In fact, what's really interesting, if you press it yourself really hard. Yeah. In fact, it gets better because if you can do it yourself, sir. Just wherever it was about there. You should hopefully start to feel some of that, like you did before. Yeah. Don't do it too much. That's being greedy. Now, if you just have another go. Just one real hard press and then take it off. Just one real hard press and then take it off. No. And you start to feel those things and it just sort of makes you smile. It's like, well, why do I suddenly feel good? Yeah? Cool. What I'd like you to do then, that's anchoring. I'll come back to an explanation in a minute. But, both of you close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in, through your nose, and out through your mouth. Just for the safety and benefit of that positive anchor you've instilled into yourself, I just want you to realise right now that that is on the back of your right hand. And whenever you need to, should you desire to, you can just trigger off that by giving it one short, sharp, nice, firm press, and you'll feel it just like you did before, except each and every time you do it, it'll be 10 times stronger, more positive, and enjoyable for you, in a way that is appropriate for your environment and surroundings that you are currently in at that time. Yes, indeed. Okay, nice deep breath in, and stop your eyes. Wakey, rise and shine. That's fantastic. Give these two wonderful people a round of applause. Go on, just give yourself
Don't need
credit.
any more.
You don't need to anything. Okay, fair enough. That's enough. Yeah, indeed. But that, you know, that is there now. Anchoring. I never use it like that, to be honest. Well, I do. Yeah, I do. But it's just I would never normally use the back of somebody's hand. But it's just you can do. You just make it up. In complete mind therapy, as you see later, get them to press their fingertip and their thumb together and make a circle, or as I refer to it, their ring of confidence. Which, yeah, I know it's sort of stealing a line from an old 80s toothpaste advert, but that means it's got some sort of association for people of a certain age group anyway. And to other people, well, it conjures up a mental image of confidence, a ring of, it's like, it just sort of sounds right. So that's what I tend to use as being the thing that people anchor it to. The finger and thumb pressing together. Right, essentially what is anchoring? Well, we sort of pretty much did explain what it is yesterday, in terms of the metaphor of the ship, shaky sea, calm sea. Yeah, you remember if you put the anchor down, that's what you're feeling. So, there are 6 simple steps. Step 1, you explain to the client what the process is. Or, as I'll rephrase it, basically, as with everything with all of these things, you tell them what you're going to do, what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how it's going to be done. And if that involves touching them, You warn them in advance where you're going to touch them, how you're going to touch them, and when it's going to happen, and the fact that it won't bother, worry, or concern them. Yeah? You know? Step 2. Get them to recall vividly, brightly, clearly, an image in their mind. Now, for the moment, I'm only talking about positive anchoring. I'll explain more in a moment where we're just talking in context here of positive anchoring. So get them to recall vividly, and I use phrases such as a time in your life when you felt fantastic, on top of the world, proud, calm, relaxed, confident. All these wonderful, good association words. But then I will very quickly add to that, because I like to overcome problems or challenges before they ever occur. But in the past, years ago, I encountered 1 or 2 people who said, I can't think of a time in my life when I ever felt like getting it then. So by adding on that sentence, and if you can't immediately bring one to mind, just allow yourself to imagine one. What would it feel like if all your dreams came true? You felt proud, calm, relaxed, confident. Generally speaking, at that point, they will think of something, if they haven't already. Just possibly, very rarely, but I don't know, because it's never happened to me before, so how can I imagine it? Now, if that happens, then you tell them, you say, well, in that case, in your mind's eye, imagine what it would feel like to step inside the body of your favourite film star or your sporting hero or someone that they, in their mind's eye, attribute to having the qualities that they would like themselves. You've got different directions you can go with this, but ultimately it's a case of getting them to get a mental image where there's the association of the good stuff. Happy, calm, relaxed, confident, all that kind of stuff. When they get up, their eyes are closed at this point, by the way. You saw that, but I've just reminded you, you get them to close their eyes. I always get them at the beginning of something to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and then out through the mouth. Whether it's inductions or exercises like that, I do that because a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth, it just helps to oxygenate the blood a little bit, and to some extent helps to create a little bit of disorientation, because it's not a normal sort of breathing pattern. So it is like, again, a part of the ritual. You get them to visualise it, and in this example we said, okay, I want you to make the picture brighter, bring it forward towards you. The idea being that NLP teaches us, and generally speaking, it's common sense, the further away we are from an image in our mind's eye, the less connected we are to the situation. The more we are close to that image, or actually inside it, the more connected we are to it. A bit like real life, really. If I'm all the way over here and the fight's going on over there, I feel a bit more relaxed than if I was fucking stood in the middle of the crowd while it's kicking off. It's as simple as that. Association, disassociation. So get them to make it bright, closer. Don't tell them what's going on in that image. You leave all the choices to them. That's why I say things like, if there is sound, turn the volume up. Make it brighter, clearer, bring it towards you. So the first time, it's sort of seeing it without being in the picture. Tell them that you're going to tap them on the back of your hand. The very moment you do that, very second, you want them to make it the brightest, happiest, clearest, blah, 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 that it's ever been. Because that's the moment you're anchoring. That's the peak of the feeling. If you look at the person, you can also see that when they start to smile or the face contorts a bit in a positive manner, that's obviously when it's getting clear. So that's the moment you want to press it, because you said when you press it, it's going to get even clearer. So even if it doesn't get even clearer, the fact that you pressed the back of their hand the moment you can see some sort of recognition of, which hopefully you could see when you were looking, is the time to anchor it. So you press. In this case, we said it was the right hand, back of, it was. I then get them to break state, open their eyes, and we say, right, we're going to just do it one more time. Take a nice deep breath in, close your eyes. This time I get them to do it, but I get them to step almost as if you're stepping into that picture, you're there right now. It's almost as if you can taste, smell, see, feel, and hear everything. That's 100% total reality. Almost as if, so they can fill in the blanks themselves. And anchor it again, as you saw. And now, open your eyes. And yeah, this is sort of slightly a suggestion, hypnotic suggestion, albeit eyes open, wide awake trance, but you say to them, technically you can anchor somebody like this without telling them what you're doing. Why you would want to do that, for any ethical reason, God only knows, but that's an entirely different product, and it's at the back of the room. No. So he said to them, look, you know, the interesting thing is you now got that magic power spot on the back of your hand, and when it's pressed, you feel that good, but even better every time. So you've just verbalised what's going to happen, so they're anticipating. So when you press, it's like already in the mind to feel that way, which is like the third time of feeling that, which is the power of 3, which is totally concrete in that anchoring place. Make sense? I will tell you, if you read books on anchoring, they don't tell you to do it exactly as I'm telling you. This is just the way I do it. It works for me, it therefore can work for you, but by the same token, you can, once you feel confident, you can, just for sure, just mix these things up and come up with your own watermelon therapy or whatever the hell else you fancy. And then he said, you know, it's really interesting because you can do it as well, and just get them to prove to themselves, oh yeah! And that's basically anchoring. In its most simple, basic, that's it. That is anchoring. And as it said in that book we mentioned yesterday, the acronym for it, ITURN, standing for intensity. You need them to see bright, clear, close up, be associated in it. Timing. You need to, in that example, tap the back of the hand at the moment when it's at the highest. Yeah, sorry?
That associating, when you were talking about watermelons and strawberries and things, every time they would go to that piece of fruit, would they also be anchoring that piece of fruit with that feeling? Or with a feeling of...
Essentially, yeah.
Are we using, the fruit as an anchor as well, so that each time...
I wasn't intentionally doing that, but the truth is, yeah, all it would have taken is one sentence. I mean, without saying a single sentence, the side effect of that is the mental image of eating the strawberries being fantastic. Yes, automatically, anytime that person eats strawberries, to some extent, they're going to feel better than in the past when they ate strawberries.
So the anchor can be physical, or it could be associated with an image, is that right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Or, or doing a specific thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But with one sentence, if you were going to do that in that, let's say, strawberries, one sentence added to what was being said would make it even stronger. And that'd be simply, you ate the magic strawberries, brilliant, you feel fantastic, and remember that whenever you genuinely eat strawberries in the future, it's just a sign and a signal directly to your unconscious mind. To strengthen this 100 times better each and every time, just add in that sentence, and yeah, see, you're already thinking outside the box. Yes, you can.
So you get them to choose their favourite food, their favourite food.
Yeah, well, if you
Yeah.
said choose your favourite food, then you make it even better, because they like it already.
Yeah.
So it's got a positive. This is brilliant. Your brain's right. This is fucking fantastic. Yes, use their. Ask them their favourite food.
Yeah.
Get them to visualise that. They're all going to feel good about it. Plus, they're going to eat it a lot. So when they're eating it a lot, it's going to amplify that bloody anchor. Brilliant.
If it's chocolate, they can come back to you later.
Yeah.
It's working,
Yeah.
so
I
it's
need to get
fine.
rid of the chocolate.
Yeah, but with a certain amount of common sense, you can put in the sentence you're not going to eat any more than you normally did. But you're thinking, common sense outside of it, yes, and automatically you've just improved strawberry therapy, no end. Just bad. Seriously! I know it seems really ridiculous, but you have. That's what it's all about. Brilliant. Timing, as we said, that's a case of pressing when visually you can see that there's a reaction, that the person's clearly visualising something good. U for uniqueness. In other words, anchor it somewhere that's not accidentally going to get fired off all the time. not really any good anchoring something to the palm of somebody's hand if that's the hand that they shake hands with, and also if that's the hand that they lift things up with or open the door with. Because if an anchor gets overused too many times in the incorrect context that it was set up for, so you set something onto the, you know, if someone feels a bit nervous public speaking, say before they go on, they can fire off this anchor, ring of confidence. And actually, seriously, if you look at videos of Tony Blair on the internet, and a lot of politicians, when they're talking, they quite often stand like this. This is not a body language thing, although it is apparently openness. It is because these guys have had, you'll see, they've got anchors on every fucking finger. Confidence. Now I can go into the emotional, I'm serious. They have had people anchor different emotions to each finger so they can look as sincere as possible. Look closely next time you see news, you'll see them doing it.
Get to know about honesty on it.
The illusion of honesty. Yeah.
And they also, isn't it well documented that they also use the same sort of thing to highlight, and this is controversial, you know, various secret society gestures as well. They're out there doing
it's arguable that yes they do, but by the same token those
Freemason gestures like
yeah.
you know, all that sort of stuff.
Maybe they do, maybe they don't. They do if you believe that those are the gestures, but at the end of it, you know, by the same token, there's anchors. In the context of what we're talking about, there's anchors. So make it unique. You don't want it firing off too many times, because otherwise, if it's in the context of, you know, it was for public speaking, and the person makes the ring of confidence, fine. But if it was public speaking and they had to press the palm, still fine. However, then, every day they'd be opening doors, lifting things up. And that would, it sort of wears out the anchor, so it becomes less effective. You want it only to be getting fired off when it's needed, so that it's still got a sense of importance and value attached to it. Yeah? Okay. Replicable. In other words, if you're going to anchor something for somebody, don't tell them that, you know, don't touch them, God knows, at some point in the centre of their back that they're not physically able to fucking get to. Right? Unless you were to be anchoring them for a negative purpose, which you shouldn't be doing. Well, basically, no, you know, so it's got to be something that they can actually fire off themselves, otherwise what's the fucking point? Number of times. Everyone disagrees on this, but I believe in the power of 3. Hence, first time, bring the image close, it's there. Second time, you're into the image, you're taking it up a level, progress them down. Third time, with me doing it, I set them off. That's the power of 3. And alright, it's an odd one, them doing it themselves, but that's just proof then. The power of 3 is already happened, that's just proof to themselves. That's personally how I use it. I will warn you now, but then again, by the same token, if you went away and read loads of books, if you got 10 random books off Amazon on NLP, or hypnosis, they would all contradict each other. I'm just telling you what's worked for me in a simple manner, whereby you can start using it rather than spending fucking years pissing about. So that's, yeah, that's anchoring on a one-to-one basis. Now, I'm only very briefly going to tell you this, because to be honest, in therapy, this is not something I use that often, but I have been known to... I actually, if it's a group seminar, I'll be walking around like this, but obviously otherwise I'll be sat down. Until the point of the therapy, but we'll come to that after the break. Because during the actual session I walk around, for reasons I'll become clear. But with a group session, or perhaps one-to-one sat down, but as there's a load of you here, I might be telling the client something, a third-party story. In NLP they call it magic stories. In sales they call it the third-party testimonial. It's given different names in different situations, like, but basically it's a fantastic way of apparently establishing evidence of how wonderful something is. So that rather than you saying this is wonderful, it's, you know, Mrs. Jones, whose photograph we got here, she gave us this testimony and she said, you know what, this is the best course ever. It felt so absolutely wonderful in every way, and because it's someone else and it's not you saying it, it has more sort of impact. So with Magic Stories in NLP, you sort of tell a metaphor of, you know, you're not on your own. We had somebody here with a very similar problem a few weeks ago. And you tell some bollocks, or it may be true by the time you've had some clients, and you tell them how successful it was, how wonderful it turned out, and how fantastic that client felt afterwards. And you're already anchoring them. Because hopefully by now you all spotted what I was doing, but for the odd person who didn't, this pen, which I've been holding all the time so it seems completely innocent, whenever I got to words fantastic, success, feels good, happy, wonderful, success, there, anchored. Pen up here when I was saying anything else. So now you're acutely aware of that, you wouldn't normally be telling your client. But later in the session, when it gets to the end, after you've done your work, you're still sat like the normal person with your pen or in this group thing later on. When I want to fire off those ideas in your head of success, feels good. I've stopped anchoring it now, by the way, but if I want it, I should continue anchoring. So, you know, success, feels good, fantastic, wonderful. You know, it's just like you want to take hold of it, grab it right now. It's like you want to go back, you know, to the back of the room and grab everything, take that opportunity. But then later on in the day, those ideas that have taken root casually can be fired off, so that at the end of the day, if I, you know, at the end of the day, I mean totally at the end of the day, or at break time, next break time, is to say something like, you know, thank you, you've been a wonderful audience, hope to see you all again, and just remember, reach out and grab your success. In your mind, somewhere back there, it's like, now I've made it more obvious what I'm doing with the pen. I've said something about reach out, grab your success, it's like, I'm just being nice, but all those ideas are there of happiness, success, grab it, back of the room, and people are more likely to feel that need, want and desire to go and buy stuff. This is what they do with these seminars where they let you come along free of charge. They're just all the time anchoring you. You look closely with either a pen or spatial anchoring, as it's called. It's called spatial anchoring in NLP because what you're doing is anchoring somebody to space. This is as a speaker. You're not really going to do this on a one-to-one level. I'm just throwing it in so you've got a level of knowledge, and that if you end up doing, or rather when you end up, let's be positive, when you end up doing group seminars and making money from group stop smoking, weight loss, confidence, phobia seminars and stuff, which I'm going to explain to you after the break how to do, because I used the CMT session for that, so that's what we're leading on to. Now you know that anchoring. Oh, I'll have to show you how to clap anchors later, that's a good point. You'll be able to anchor people as well. Now, spatial anchoring, if you imagine this is a stage, you're the audience. Wow, very close to reality. But except there's not really a stage, it's carpet. Well, the most powerful point whenever you're talking to somebody is the centre of the room. Okay? And there is, I'm just throwing these in, these are very important things if ever you do group seminars or presentations. I promise you this will make the difference between looking like someone who's been speaking for years and someone who's only just started. And do what I say, not what I do, because I break all of these rules at times, just because I don't give a shit and I know I can. But the centre of the room facing the audience is always the most powerful point, and as close to the front of the stage as possible without being in the person's body space. So you want to be, you know, people like their own bodily zone area. So this is up centre stage, it's called in theatrical terms. Basically, as you're standing facing the audience, the centre of the stage at the front is the most powerful speaking position there is. Centre stage, whatever, yeah. It's just as clear as that. Right. So whenever you want to deliver something that's going to go boom in centre. Now, it's up to you, everyone varies it, and I varied it all through yesterday. Depending, in the morning, I did it one way around with the room. In the afternoon, I did it the other way around with the room, which when you eventually see the DVD, you'll become acutely aware of. But I would, for example, when I was talking about pain, I would move to this side of the room. So all negative, painful, shitty stuff, I walk to this side of the room to talk about. All positive, fantastic, moving forward stuff, I walk to this side of the room to talk about. Could just as easily be the other way around, but the point is, in my head, I'm making it so that good stuff's here, whilst looking at the audience, shit stuff's here, and neutral stuff that's balanced, or powerful stuff that really needs to drive home, comes here. If you think through your presentations, that alone will give them more impact. The way you stand, okay, lots of people will stand there because the stuff for ages, they'll end up stood like that because they want to feel steady and firm, and apparently body language, that's confidence, and I'm slightly screwed up because by doing that, the more you spread your legs apart to apparently look relaxed, unfortunately, the more you spread them apart, I'll take it to the extremes, you never do this, you look weird. But the more I spread my legs apart, the lower I am becoming. The more my legs come together, the taller I become. So the ideal position to standing, hopefully you can see, is literally so that your feet are sort of literally just in line with your yeah, your nipples, shoulders. So just that little gap. So I am literally standing upright. When I stand still, that is. But obviously I'm going to mix this with moving from good to bad to anchor things in the room.
So was I applied to put all the things we learned on the good side?
But he switched it during the day yesterday,
Yeah,
if you noticed.
but the good side, I always, when I said that you're remembering this, was stood on the good side. So I've been doing this all the time. So, standing, only a little bit back, because then you're higher up. You want to be stood so you are literally pretty much upright. If you are going to gesture, can't even say the word, gesture, that's the one. If you're going to stand still, you either want to, yes, body language wise, hands open, it's openness, it's honesty, or stand so that you're sort of just holding your hand like it's for a purpose. You'll remember that yesterday a lot I will stop moving at some point in one of these positions. Stop, pause, not say anything for a few moments. Gets the audience's attention back again. And then having paused, then I would make a physical gesture. Because it has more impact then. Physical gesture tied in with what you say verbally. It's like disorientated mind, can't think about both things at once. It's almost like going straight in. And the one key thing above all else, I mean I could do an entire week's course on bloody public speaking in terms of how to manipulate a crowd and get them set up, but yesterday morning, the first thing I did, and I'll do it right now, but do you remember the first thing we did is when you came in, I asked you all, you know, how many of you in this room are actually people that have got experience of hypnosis and NLP before? Hands in the air, people. You remember that? Yeah, hands in the air so I can see who remembers that, please. Yeah? Fantastic. And then I asked how many people have got no experience whatsoever until coming here at this event. By a show of hands, fantastic. And how many people, power of three, how many people have seen any of my DVDs before? I know there's some, fantastic, and I get the hands up. Oh, we're back to the football match at the church. And Hitler. I'm getting you to release serotonin. Feel good. I'm also getting you used to doing what I want you to do when I want you to do it. I'm also getting you used to agreeing to when I ask things. The more you agree with me, the more likely you are to buy things. Or buy into the idea for yourself. You feel relaxed.
So can I fetch that DVD back and get the money then?
Rearrange this well-known phrase. Off the... No, so, I'm move very... I get hyper at some points. I break the rules on purpose because that is my niche persona, the way I market myself. If I go into a corporate company, I wouldn't necessarily jump around anywhere near as much, but when I'm walking, walk forcefully, you're up, And it's almost like that. In slow motion, it would look very poncy for a bloke. It's not so bad for a woman. In slow motion, generally speaking, when I walk, even normally, I tend to, when I've got shoes and a suit on anyway, walk very sort of pointy foot like that. It's almost ballerina-y, pointy foot. Now, if you do it slow, it looks fucking ridiculous. But if you're doing it in small steps, it actually means that you're carrying yourself in a manner that looks far more, you know, I feel calm, relaxed and comfortable in this position. So therefore I look in control. I could be shitting myself inside, but if you do these things, you will automatically feel better in front of the crowd, I promise you. Especially when you've set up your own anchor that you can fire off to give you all that confidence of the situation that you felt wonderful and on top of the world, which of course you would no doubt have done as well. So at the start of an event, ask people questions. This is a bit of a different event because I actually wanted some genuine information off you. Ideally, you want to ask them questions that they've got to answer yes to. Okay? So, you know, if it was a seminar about, you know, change your life seminar, or a business seminar, go, by show of hands, being honest, okay, by show of hands, people in here, are we all ready to change our lives for the better here today? Yeah? And you do it and they follow. That means you, that's audience pass. You know, and they go, boom. And then you'll ask, because obviously you know that's the nature of the event, otherwise why the fuck are they there? Ask them 3 things that they've got to basically say yes to. Get them conditioned as a crowd, because if at first someone's a bit slow at putting their hand up, when they see everyone else do it, they'll feel like the odd one out and they've got to pull a suit. Yeah? Makes sense what we talked about, sheep effect, knock-on effect. The other biggest key, the difference between people going away and saying, you know, it was almost fucking painful watching that speaker out there. You know, it's almost as if he was just fucking reciting something word for word. The difference between that and people going away at the end of an event feeling fucking amazing and remembering and taking on board things and remembering that they've learned more than they even realised and that continues to build upon is quite simply one thing. And that thing I've been doing all weekend. And it's the biggest mistake most people who do the first ever presentations or talks make. And it's why they lose an audience and they don't feel they're getting the vibe back from the audience, so that makes them feel nervous. This one thing can stop that from happening so you don't fall into that loop. And that one thing is to actually pay attention to your audience. Too many speakers, I'm now going to show you what it looks like when I don't pay attention to you. Too many speakers come out and they go, you know, it's fantastic to be here and I would really like to say, and they are looking almost at the back of the fucking room, over your heads. Or they'll look over here, and because they've been told that if they look in that general direction, everyone will get the impression they're being looked at. No, they'll get the impression they're being ignored. You've got to slightly, with your gaze, move your head down every now and again so it's clear that you are looking at the audience, wherever you are. And yes, it is in sort of a movement. But I would like to think that as I move my head like that, everyone in the room at some point gets the impression that I'm looking directly at them. So therefore we're making some sort of connection. Where in truth, I am looking at you all, but I'm just making sure that I'm covering all the room on a regular basis. And every now and again as I walk around, I'll occasionally perhaps stop to express a point, and I'll focus in on a little area. I'll think this quarter of the room, so it's clear I'm painting. But then I'll turn and I'll go for the back quarter of the room. Then I'll come to this quarter, that quarter, and I'll come back to everyone as well. When I'm looking out, I'm looking towards sort of the bridge of your nose. So you get the idea. It's too difficult to take the time to look at everyone's eyes directly, especially when you're sitting. If you go for the bridge of the nose area, it looks as though I'm looking into your eyes. And people are always more accepting when someone is looking them in the eye, talking. Do that one thing, practice that one thing, and when you do talks, I promise you, 10-fold, 100-fold, you will get a difference from the audience because they will start to feel a connection with you. And you'll start to see a reaction from them where then they're more likely to be sat there. And it also helps you because you can notice that, you know, they smile at a certain point or they nod their head like, oh yeah. And that gives you the feedback to make you feel more confident. So it eliminates those problems you once had in the past. It gets rid of all that negativity that was once there and gives you the confidence to move forward and become centre stage where you can deliver that message in a manner that is right for you. On that note, we're having a break and we'll be back in here please for 12 o'clock. Thank you.